Welcome to Daylight. Today is April 8th, 2026. We start with today's news overview. Tensions escalate over attacks in Europe. Zelensky seeks new alliances amid Middle East turmoil. U.S. envoys may revisit Ukraine as diplomatic efforts fluctuate. Ukraine retaliates against Russian oil facilities. A troubling discovery near a Serbian gas pipeline raises suspicions of sabotage, and Ukrainian power outages affect hundreds of thousands following fresh Russian strikes. In a notable claim, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov suggested that evidence may point towards Ukraine's involvement in recent sabotages targeting the Turkish Stream gas pipeline, which is critical for Europe's energy supplies. During a press briefing on April 6th, Peskov asserted that, while concrete evidence is lacking, it is permissible to suspect the Kiev regime, due to their prior engagement in sabotage operations against vital energy infrastructure on European soil. This development arrives amid heightened geopolitical sensitivities regarding energy security and the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, which has severely impacted energy routes critical to the region's supply. Delving into the ramifications, the disruption of the Turkish stream could have profound economic consequences. European dependence on this pipeline for gas transports underpins not only energy markets but overall economic stability on the continent. If Ukrainian involvement is confirmed or believed by Moscow and its allies, it could provoke retaliatory measures and exacerbate tensions, complicating already strained relations between Russia, Ukraine, and the EU nations reliant on Russian gas. Observers have remarked that such provocations may instigate escalated military responses from Russia, further influencing the energy scenario in an already volatile market characterized by unpredictable oil and gas prices. The geopolitical dimension adds layers to this incident, with Peskov's insinuations solidifying a narrative of Ukrainian aggression. Russia aims to leverage this situation to strengthen its strategic alliances, while potentially swaying Europe to favor stronger defensive measures against Ukraine. As we analyze the unfolding events, the duplicity of energy warfare amid military conflict should not go unnoticed, with each country vying for influence over European energy policy, potentially intensifying the impacts of existing sanctions and military actions against both Ukraine and its allies. In a bid to expand diplomatic ties amid regional upheaval, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived in Damascus on April 5th for talks with Syrian leadership, a strategic move following increasing tensions surrounding the U.S.-Israel confrontation with Iran. Accompanied by discussions of infrastructure and energy cooperation, Zelensky's visit aims to reinforce Ukraine's positions in the volatile geopolitical ecosystem. The meetings addressed food security, defense partnerships, and enhanced trade ties, speaking to a commitment to cultivate enduring relationships that could help counterbalance regional threats from Iran. A tactical analysis reveals the significance of Zelensky's engagements in the Middle East, particularly as Iranian threats loom large due to its backing of proxy groups that could pose risks to Ukrainian interests. The collaboration discussions on energy and defense could allow Ukraine to benefit from advanced military technologies and expert knowledge in counteroffense, bolstering its defensive capabilities amid ongoing conflict. Zelensky's push for further collaborations and partnerships demonstrates a nuanced understanding of military strategy to secure allies capable of bolstering Ukraine's defense against Russian aggression. In broader geopolitical assessments, this visit not only signifies Zelensky's effort to pivot Ukraine's diplomatic focus, but also highlights the precarious nature of global alliances, particularly for nations caught within the sphere of influence of both Western powers and Russian intervention. Comments from Zelensky reveal underlying anxieties regarding American priorities' implications for Ukraine's negotiation leverage, emphasizing the need for adaptive strategies that encompass alliances beyond traditional Western partners. As such, Zelensky's engagements may accentuate the need for a reevaluation of foreign policies surrounding rapid shifts in military and diplomatic landscapes. Reports indicate that a diplomatic mission led by key former representatives of President Donald Trump may visit Ukraine post-Orthodox Easter, potentially signaling a rejuvenation of stalled peace talks. Expected to include Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, Their trip is being viewed as a move to rekindle dialogues aimed at finding a sustainable resolution. Ukraine's Chief of Staff Kirilo Budanov expressed caution but optimism, highlighting the significance of U.S. engagement in formulating security guarantees essential for a lasting ceasefire. This development occurs amid rising concerns over the pivot in U.S. foreign policy focus to the conflicts in the Middle East, coinciding with the ongoing war in Iran, which has drawn significant attention and resources away from Ukraine. While the prospective envoy's visit poses an opportunity for progress, analysts note the need for concrete outcomes rather than mere discussions, especially in light of diverging interests as showcased in Ukraine's defensive strategies, which seek to optimize military resource allocation. Geopolitically, this prospective engagement raises questions about the intertwined effects of the U.S. diplomatic approach to Ukraine amidst the shifting landscapes of global conflict, particularly how waning support could recalibrate the West's commitment to Ukrainian sovereignty. Observers argue that failure to establish substantial agreements during this visit may contribute to further territorial losses or operational disadvantages for Ukraine as foreign backing faces potential uncertainty. In what can be seen as a bold statement defying Western pressure, Ukraine has reportedly asserted its military capability by striking a Russian oil refinery near St. Petersburg, an area that Moscow characterizes as its internal stronghold. Ukrainian drones managed to damage the refinery and associated pipeline during the noted assaults, occurring against the backdrop of urgent caution from Western allies discouraging strikes that could exacerbate global oil prices during the ongoing energy crisis instigated by the Iranian conflict. Delving deeper, reports from the ground reveal claims of significant explosions and fires at the refinery site, evidencing the effectiveness of Ukraine's tactics aimed at inflicting collateral damage on Russian energy production capabilities. While the precise impact on Russian resources remains unclear, the ongoing targeting aligns with a broader Ukrainian strategy to cripple Moscow's funding for its war effort, signaling a carefully calculated risk taken by Ukraine to manipulate the severity of its own operational priorities in the face of escalating international economic pressure. The implications of these strikes extend beyond immediate military operations, presenting potential logistical dilemmas for Russian forces and further complicating the humanitarian landscape as global fuel prices are driven higher by retaliatory sanctions and countermeasures. The response from Russian officials remains predictable yet charged, as they label Ukrainian actions as terrorist strikes while vowing to escalate defensive measures, thus responding in a manner that indicates an intensifying conflict where both sides prepare for long-term attrition. In a turn of events swirling with allegations and denials, Serbian authorities reported the discovery of explosives near key gas infrastructure connecting Serbia and Hungary, with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban hinting at possible Ukrainian involvement. However, Serbian military officials have publicly disputed these claims, asserting that there is no evidence linking Ukraine to the incident and suggesting alternative explanations may be more valid amidst rising speculation and disinformation. An analysis of the scenarios suggests that the explosive findings could have multifaceted implications, particularly in light of the upcoming elections in Hungary, where Orban's government is under pressure amidst growing national dissatisfaction. Analysts posit that any direct accusations against Ukraine could serve a dual purpose, deflecting local scrutiny while potentially manipulating fears around national security to galvanize political support. The militarization of energy narratives, amid a backdrop of electoral ambition, exemplifies the complexities inherent in regional politics interwoven with the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, further steering narratives towards escalating tensions. As this situation evolves, leaders' statements reveal an ongoing struggle to balance legitimate concerns over energy security with the need to foster stable diplomatic relations that may be threatened by incendiary rhetoric around potential sabotage. With serious implications for regional energy supply routes and political allegiances, the outcomes of this incident will likely underscore the need for enhanced vigilance against potential misattributions and false narratives that could ignite further conflict within Central Europe. Devastating repercussions followed a series of Russian strikes targeting energy infrastructure across northern Ukraine's Chernihiv Oblast, concluding with over 340,000 individuals left without power in the aftermath of sustained bombardment. These attacks resulted in blackouts affecting major urban centers and elicited urgent calls for government responses to secure energy facilities from future attacks amid continuous threats of escalated military operations. In tactical evaluations, such brazen assaults on energy networks point towards a strategic attempt by Russia to escalate psychological and physical pressure on Ukrainian civilians, particularly in situations marked by bad weather and humanitarian distress. These strikes appear calculated to impair Ukraine's ability to maintain both economic stability and civilian morale, with rolling blackouts becoming increasingly common and reactivating concerns about infrastructure vulnerability. The context of such aggressive military tactics reflects Moscow's strategic imperative to combine coercion with combat. Usage of energy resources as leverage over Ukraine reflects ongoing narratives in geopolitical discussions about energy dependency and warfare techniques. The recent hardships endured by civilians, including significant vulnerabilities for those reliant on electric heating amidst frigid temperatures, raise serious ethical concerns, while spotlighting the intersections of military tactics with humanitarian crises accompanying the armed conflict. In a broader response, Ukraine's foreign ministry rigorously denied any suggestions of involvement in alleged sabotage incidents surrounding the Turk Stream pipeline in Serbia, framing Hungarian hints as misplaced accusations potentially aimed at influencing domestic politics ahead of national elections. Citing the potential for Russian disinformation campaigns, Ukrainian officials underscored their commitment to adhere to international laws, arguing that these baseless claims distract from the critical issues at hand regarding energy security and the ongoing military conflict. The geopolitical undercurrents threading these accusations showcase deeper strategic intentions by both Hungary and Russia as they navigate fragile alliances against the backdrop of deteriorating relationships with Ukraine. This interplay serves as a reminder of the critical importance surrounding energy infrastructure, where reliability and trust are pivotal amid rampant speculation and politically charged narratives. Each government's stance on the issue highlights the risks of miscommunication and miscalculation in such a high-stakes environment. Ukraine's strong repudiation of these allegations may stem from a desire to maintain international relationships while managing domestic sentiments concerning ongoing humanitarian needs and energy resources. Ultimately, addressing the intertwined narratives of energy security while countering external pressures represents a complex challenge that will continue to unfold in varying state responses to the allegations and their implications. In a notable legal achievement, the Court of Arbitration for Sport has delivered a ruling against Russia, barring the Russian Chess Federation from conducting tournaments in territories occupied during its military campaign. This significant and symbolic victory for Ukraine's sports authorities underscores ongoing attempts to challenge Russia's utilization of cultural platforms for the normalization of its contested claims in occupied regions. The ruling marks not only a legal precedent, but also an assertion of Ukrainian sovereignty, which is particularly crucial in the context of global sporting events and narratives surrounding international governance. This judgment arrives amidst growing calls for transparency in international sports relations, especially as Russia seeks opportunities to rehabilitate its global image following accusations of war crimes. The complexities involved in securing a fair sporting environment speak to the broader implications of the Kyiv government's legal strategy, which have become increasingly emboldened since the onset of the full-scale invasion. Legal realms intersecting with national identity and international law further amplify the stakes in this ongoing conflict, underlining how global systems remain permeable to regional power struggles. The repercussions of such legal victories can significantly influence public sentiments both domestically and internationally, forming narratives that challenge Russia's entrenched positions in global governance and potentially mobilizing support for Ukraine. Moreover, This ruling contributes to a culture of accountability in sporting and political arenas, reaffirming that taking a principled stance against aggression can yield impactful results in advocacy and legal realms alike. Frontline engagements have intensified, with Ukraine purportedly sustaining a strategic focus on Russian oil infrastructure, as recent attacks on oil facilities in the Krasnodar region exemplify. Following a wave of drone strikes on key installations, analysts from the Institute for the Study of War have noted a significant escalation in Ukraine's offensive capabilities, revealing broader strategic objectives aimed at curbing Russia's oil export capacities. This aggressive and coordinated approach signifies a shift where Ukraine seeks to leverage its military assets effectively while seeking to demonstrate operational superiority amid external pressures. The evolving tactics employed by Ukrainian forces indicate not only the urgency surrounding energy components in the war, but also the importance of targeting specific infrastructure perceived as critical to Russian financial sustainment. Analyzing this shift reveals overlapping political and military logics, where achieving success on the battlefield interfaces with geopolitical maneuvers that aim to undermine Moscow's broader plans. By directly confronting energy assets, Ukraine is able to claim a strategic narrative that highlights resilience in the face of logistical challenges. The dynamic of countering drone threats is encapsulated through assessments of infrastructure security, pointing to deepening complexities accompanying cross-border engagements. As geopolitical ripples extend from these military engagements, both Russia and Ukraine remain attentive to the broader operational context while recalibrating their responses. The persistent sacrifices of civilian populations amid strategic bombings raises ethical considerations and concerns regarding humanitarian implications as both nations navigate conflicts alongside their regional aspirations. The necessity for comprehensive strategies on the part of Ukraine to advance its objectives reflects an acute awareness of vulnerabilities while urging continued international solidarity amidst a rapidly changing landscape. Reports from the Ukrainian armed forces indicate that there has been a notable territorial recovery, with approximately 480 square kilometers recaptured in recent offensives across the southeastern and eastern front lines. Commanders cited successful military operations leading to the reclaiming of 8 settlements in Dnipropetrovsk and 4 in the Zaporizhzhia region, underscoring a heightened offensive capability despite ongoing Russian initiatives aimed at seizing more territory. This recovery sheds light on evolving military tactics that have cultivated a favorable operational environment for Ukraine as it navigates extensive challenges amid renewed enemy offensives. However, while Ukrainian troops exhibit considerable prowess in reclaiming lost ground, military assessments caution against complacency, noting that Russian forces are equally committed to regrouping and continuing their offensive operations across the expansive Eastern Front. Analysts highlight that ongoing counterattacks in strategic areas are compounded by deteriorating conditions where territorial integrity remains tenuous amidst continual Russian aggression. The sustained operational tempo calls for amplified resource attribution and clear logistical management to maintain the momentum necessary for enduring success, especially as conditions evolve in the lead-up to heightened confrontations during the changing seasons. The focused military operations not only reflect Ukraine's adaptation to battlefield conditions, but also signal a willingness to confront Russian advances with calculated risk-taking and operational nicety. The complex pattern of recovery emphasizes the necessity for comprehensive strategic alignments across military, diplomatic, and coalition-building efforts necessary to sustain momentum and achieve broader objectives in the context of evolving peace negotiations. Reports have emerged indicating that at least 16 Cameroonian nationals have died fighting for Russia in Ukraine, eliciting notable concern over the controversial recruitment of foreign combatants. For the first time, Cameroonian officials have publicly acknowledged their citizens' involvement, raising additional complexities surrounding the international dimensions of the ongoing conflict. Far from isolated, this recruitment underscores broader patterns whereby Russia has sought foreign fighters, revealing a network of international involvement shaping the contemporary warfare landscape. An in-depth analysis of recruitment policies reveals Russia's tactical investment in leveraging foreign fighters from economically strained nations, reflecting an unambiguous effort to create a diverse combat pool amid growing home front challenges. Such involvement raises critical questions about the blurred lines of conscription and volunteerism, illuminating risks attendant to coerced enlistment versus willing participation among foreign volunteers. Coupling the state's unfulfilled manpower objectives alongside domestic operational deficits underscores the extent to which Russia has augmented its military strategies through foreign engagements. In ramifications, this emergence of international fighters from varied backgrounds spurs extensive humanitarian discourse while complicating geopolitical entanglements as domestic policies related to wartime mobilization intersect with foreign policy objectives. As narratives around foreign combatants gain traction, the implications for diplomatic relations with African nations could prompt shifts in approach to bilateral dialogues and foreign aid program strategizing. On a grassroots scale, communities in Brittany, France, have actively mobilized to support Ukraine through substantial donations of fishing nets aimed at countering Russian drone attacks. The innovation in utilizing fishing nets as an anti-drone measure illustrates how non-combatants can impact conflict dynamics within the war. Through approximately 932 miles of netting, local fishermen aim to create protective barriers against UAVs targeting civilians, showcasing local resilience and international solidarity against the backdrop of increasingly lethal technological warfare. The initiative highlights the intertwined nature of civilian and military efforts in contemporary warfare, where communities contribute resources to bolster defense capabilities, and the narrative of collective support extends beyond traditional military engagement. The dynamic between public efforts and official response illuminates the complexities of local initiatives fostering resilience and community engagement amid conflict, underscoring that even modest contributions can yield tangible security benefits. The communal response also serves a broader psychological purpose, reinforcing the narrative that the struggles endured by Ukrainians resonate deeply across borders, highlighting shared values of liberty and dignity. The voluntary nature of contributions from fishing communities not only enhances military operational capacity, but also represents a significant act of international brotherhood in times of crisis. In a tragic turn, Russian military operations continue to claim civilian lives, with reports confirming 13 fatalities and 77 injuries from drone assaults conducted over the past day in Ukraine. These numbers provide a stark reminder of the ongoing human cost as Russia escalates its aerial assaults targeting populated regions, amidst an unprecedented scale of drone activity witnessed across the nation. The intensity of attacks and repercussions reveal the consequential nature of military tactics influencing civilian lives as the war reaches deeper into the everyday fabric of Ukrainian society. As multiple strikes are reported across regions, authorities emphasize the urgent need for protective measures and bolster defenses to combat the escalating assault patterns. Observations on civilian casualties render a poignant urgency around humanitarian response mechanisms while amplifying the ethical questions inherent to modern warfare, where harm to non-combatants underscores the stakes surrounding military operations. This relentless cycle of violence reinforces imperatives for diplomatic pathways while highlighting the socioeconomic strains placed on communities. Thus, ongoing military actions within civilian areas necessitate heightened international attention not only regarding military stratagems but also humanitarian coordinations aimed at mitigating the impacts of warfare on vulnerable populations. Conversations surrounding civilian safety reveal critical overlaps between military capabilities and the role of diplomatic strategies in fostering paths towards resolution that respect human dignity amidst warfare. In a significant financial development, authorities have charged individuals linked to a gas fraud scheme involving the state-owned gas company Ukrgazvidobuvania, uncovering a misappropriation totaling approximately $6.8 million. This scheme, which involved inflating material costs, highlights the ongoing battle against internal corruption even as the nation fights an existential war on its borders. Anti-corruption efforts remain a critical requirement from Western allies, to ensure continued financial and military support. And now for today's reality check. What we are witnessing in Ukraine is the total weaponization of infrastructure, from the gas pipelines in Europe to the power grids of Chernihiv and the oil refineries deep inside Russia. The front lines are no longer just trenches. They are the energy arteries of the continent. As Ukraine strikes deeper into Russian territory and diplomatic alliances shift from Syria to Washington, the conflict is evolving into a brutal contest of economic and industrial attrition. Thank you for tuning in to Daylight, and we will see you next time.